Hey, welcome back everyone to the Breaking Bagels podcast. My name is Jake and I'm here with my co-host Alec. And today we are going to be doing episode 4. It is almost Pesach. We are preparing. We're cleaning up that chametz. And today we're going to be talking about one of the biggest challenges in tech is working in tech and also being simultaneously free from it. My phone is right here right now and I'm already like, did someone text me? Did someone, that feeling. And Alec got a new phone recently. And I was curious what led to that decision. Tell us a little bit about that. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see what he's showing, but we'll describe it for you. So, to describe it, first of all, actually, you go describe it.
For sure, for sure. First off, welcome everybody. I think we need a cool intro also in the future. We should work on that, a cool little podcast intro. But yeah, as Jake said, I think tech, I'm going to go ahead and say like kind of a controversial statement here, but I think just like maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, like smoking was something that everyone did and no one really thought about the consequences. I think it's going to be the same with giving out smartphones, especially to teenagers. I think we're already seeing that. I mean, we could get like deeper into that, but it's really scary, some of the research that's coming out. And for me personally, I still remember my first phone was an LG NV3. I probably was around, I don't know, like 13, but then probably when I was 15, I got my first ever iPhone. And every single year, since then, for over 10 years, all I've known is having an iPhone, having just access to social media, the whole world basically in my pocket. For a long time it was 24/7. Now, thank God, it's 24/6. But I realized this year, like, something had to change. I set a lot of goals for myself at the start of the year. Almost all of them I've been able to stick to, whether it be like running, physical fitness, work related stuff. The one thing where I always set a goal and always failed was around my technology consumption, like screen time. And I tried everything. I tried, deleting apps and turning off notifications, and maybe it would work for a day, 2 days a week, but ultimately it failed. And the reason it failed is because there is a lot of utility with tech. There is a lot of utility with having a smartphone. So I realized, and basically, I came about in a Shabbat dinner that I was at last week. This person told me he has two phones. He highly recommends it. One is his inbox phone, or what some people on the internet call the cocaine phone, and then the other phone is the kale phone, which is basically his just like productivity phone. So what I did, I know I'm rambling here, but I'll just tell everyone what I did is I have my iPhone. I took the SIM card out of my iPhone, and now my SIM card is in this phone over here. It's very, very basic. I bought it for about $130. It's a Chinese phone. But the thing that I like a lot about this is it is a smartphone. It's a smartphone that's painfully annoying to use and is very cheap, but I do have access to all the apps that I want. I purposefully don't have WhatsApp on here. I have text message so I could text my wife and call her. I even have Spotify so I could listen to like Shiurim, listen to music, listen to podcasts. I have Get, Walt, Google Maps, all of these things that like are really essential to me but aren't really, like won't lead me to start scrolling. And basically every time I leave the house now, I make a conscious decision. Do I actually really need my iPhone? Do I need access to email, WhatsApp, and Slack? 90% of the time, the answer is no. The phone stays at home. And I bring this phone with me. And I even now have this cool little case. It's like looks like a grandpa or like a Saba. But I do have like some of my, oh, hopefully no one can see my credit card information when I showed that. But I do have like my credit card here and other things. So yeah, it's only been 2 days, but like so far I'm already feeling this like weight off of my chest, and I'm really excited to see where this takes me.
That's awesome. I wouldn't call it cool necessarily, but you know what is cool? Not being a slave to your phone. It's much
100%.
easier. So, what are some of the things you're doing now that it's only been 2 days? So, we're at the beginning of this experiment.
Yeah.
But what have your days been like using this phone and leaving your iPhone at home? Do you still feel like drawn to it? Have you like kicked the desire for it, or and what are some of the pros?
Yeah, like this phone when I'm out of the house, like I don't feel drawn to it at all, like the basic phone because it's really like painfully annoying to use, and I actually love that. Like I love that it's so hard to type. The one thing that I'm still figuring it out with this phone is Spotify. I really like love listening to music and shiurim and everything, but I also think there's a real value in like completely disconnecting and just walking and hearing the birds and everything. So I guess it's both good and bad that I have Spotify here, that my AirPods connect pretty seamlessly. But I think I want to build a little protocol for myself on like when I'm listening and when I'm just doing hitbodedut, just connecting, just listening to the birds. So that's been one challenge. And other than that, like I think the biggest challenge for me that I'm still trying to figure out is, usage at home. When I'm home and my iPhone is here, how am I gonna use that? And then for me, it's really LinkedIn and WhatsApp that are the difficult things, both of which I have access to on my computer. So I think like on my work computer, I'm gonna do the same thing. I have two computers. On my work computer, no WhatsApp. I don't have the WhatsApp app. I'm not gonna like be using WhatsApp web. I'm gonna be logging out of that. And LinkedIn I kind of have to use for my job, so it's more just like building a process around that. I already have like a newsfeed eradicators. I can link to that in the community, which basically blocks your feed, so I could focus on creating content versus consuming. But I don't know. That's sort of my experiment now. But I'm curious, sort of it sounds like you've been on a little journey with tech, and I think on the first or second episode, you actually showed us your screen time, and I remember it was very impressive. So I'm sort of curious, like, your thoughts, your experience, your journey, where you're at right now with it, in your whole, tech journey.
Yeah, great question. So I try to stay off the phone as much as I can, but like everyone else, it's all the good and all the bad is right there. You have all the productivity, you have all like and it's hard because I'm also trying to keep in touch with people, not just in Israel, but outside of Israel because we moved not too long ago. Um, yeah, I don't really know what like is a good or bad screen time. I guess bad would be anywhere from like 5, 6, 7 hours.
That's like
Um,
horrendous. I think anything above like 6 hours is like, seek help. But if you're watching this and you're, I don't want to scare anyone, but like 6 hours to me, the thing that scares me the most is like doing the math. Like that's always what makes me do these detoxes is when I see like 5 hours on your phone equals this amount of years in your life. And I'm just thinking like, and I'm curious from your perspective also, because I'm super busy pre kids. Like you have a bunch of kids at home, and like
mhm.
for me, that's even like I don't want to be the father that's not present. I remember there's someone told me this, and like it really was etched in my mind and scared me, and basically like a lot of parents are scared. I think like in the previous generation, a lot of parents are scared that their kids would just be like looking at their phones and not spending time with them. But it's a completely different problem in this generation, and it's the opposite. It's the parents are just glued to their phones, not spending quality time with their kids. So I'm like curious, like, did that change when you have kids? Like, how do you build protocols around that? I know you have your really cool Ray Bans, which like, that was super cool to check out. I think that probably plays a role. But yeah, what's it like being a dad?
For sure. Great question. And then just one note on the screen time is like a lot of people are using these things for work. So if it says they're on it for 6 hours, they might have been doing sales calls, and that's
Exactly.
totally fine. And so it's very hazy, because you can scroll for a while or you could be doing productive things with it and creating with it. With kids, it's so important to not be like on your phone when you're with them. Uh, it's very tempting, and also you're using the phone for a lot of things that are time sensitive. So,
Yeah.
as much as possible, I try to leave it in another room. But it's like everyone else. I'm waiting calls and stuff like that. But they definitely feel it, and also you can just see how the energy in the house changes. Like if you have one
Uh,
parent on the phone or two parents on the phone, all the energy in the house raises because the kids are getting more wild because they don't
well,
they if you ask them like, hey, why is like what's going on, why is everyone bouncing off the walls, they won't say it's because you're on your phone, but it is because you're not paying attention to them. And it's really difficult, especially like this time of Pesach. Kids
yeah.
have these half days and they're home a lot, and you really can't do anything when they're home. You got to be like entertaining, and they have, thank God, kids have so much energy. Like
Yeah.
we're tired at the end of the day, whatever, but they have so much boundless energy, and they need to get it out in different ways. So it's kind of like, it's hard. one of the challenges was we actually had a TV in our house before moving here, and we would have like we had Disney Plus and these sort of things. We didn't bring our TV over because I wasn't watching TV anymore, and my wife wasn't. I still have YouTube and have videos
Yeah.
there, but we just don't have a TV in the living room. And our kids, like, it took a while for them to stop asking for TV. But
Yeah.
after 2 months, they pretty much stopped asking. But it's very tempting sometimes to put on the TV or put on the laptop, just like hit the pause button so I could take a breath and get something done. It's not even because I need a break. It's like a lot of times there's so many balls that I'm juggling that it's hard. So, but at the end of the day, I tell myself that it's going to be worth it to be off my phone as much as possible. Now, one of the ways I manage that is I got the Ray-Ban sunglasses that have the Ray-Ban Metas that have the camera in it, and it has headphones in it as well, and it just connects wirelessly. So if I'm going on a hike with my kids or whatever, I can just wear the glasses and I can take pictures and videos and leave my phone or just leave my phone in my bag or something like that. So that's been really nice to be able to feel like I can still get some of the benefits from having a smartphone, which is taking great pictures, taking great videos, but not feeling like I got to check that notification.
I love that. Raven and Meta, if you're listening and you want to sponsor the podcast, feel free to email us and we could chat. but
I wish that they had a SIM in it. That way you
uh,
could just leave your phone at home. I really
I love
wish.
that. One of the things that I'm very interested in, and this is part of the thing I'm trying to unlock with the experiment that I'm doing now, and Rabbi Nachman actually speaks a lot about this, is like unlocking your inner child. And like a lot of times I'll look at like pictures or videos of myself as a child, and I'll sort of like get into that frame of mind, and it's just like simcha and happiness like it's indescribable. And I think like what a lot of times we lose when we get older is our sense of awe. Like if you're ever with a child and like they see a cool animal or just like something beautiful, they're just like frozen awe. Like, and I remember I caught myself on like vacations when I used to go, like when I was going away and stuff like that, and I saw something amazing. The first thing that I would do is take out my phone, and like I really tried. Like I went to South Africa on honeymoon with my wife, and every time we saw something cool, I really, before like taking a picture, I try to like take a moment and be like, wow, like that is an unbelievable lion, like right in front of me, staring at me. I hope I don't get eaten before like taking out my phone and taking a selfie. Because I think like I'm trying to reconnect with that sense of awe, even if it's just simple, like taking a walk through the park in Jerusalem, hearing the birds, like seeing the beautiful sky. And I think it's like a deeply religious and spiritual experience that having your phone attached to you at all times just, robs you of.
It's such a fascinating insight. There's so many brachot, so many prayers over every single thing we do before we eat. But even like you mentioned before, you see something new. You haven't seen the ocean in 30 days. Okay, there's a prayer for that. Now I think there's a difference between just saying a prayer and actually saying it with emotion and heart and
Yeah.
cheshek. And I feel like that's something that I'm working on a lot as well because I didn't write these prayers, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, if I do hisbodedus, I'm making my own prayers. Obviously, it's my own words and I feel it.
Yeah.
But if I take someone else's script, it might not always feel as authentic. So those are two things. One is saying the bracha, and then one is saying it with emotion and passion and meaning. I've found that when I am off my phone more, every experience, kind of to hit on what you're talking about, is filled with more meaning and emotion, and things are more in HD, if I
Uh-huh.
would have to describe it that way. So a lot of people are always doing something when they're eating, for example,
Uh-huh.
right? Like take out the phone, I'm scrolling, I'm watching something. When was the last time, Alec, that when you ate something that you just ate?
Yeah, including, yeah, even on Shabbat, like I'm obviously I have no technology, but I'm with people and speaking. Wow, I honestly can't remember. Like eating is my YouTube time, so like and that's not a good thing. But I can't tell you honestly. How about you? Is that like something you've put into practice?
I have done it a few times. I am not a monk in any sense, but when I've done it and I eat slowly and I just eat, it's like wild. You're like sitting with yourself, and usually I'm just like, oh, again, like you, listening to something, watching
Yeah.
something, reading something, walking, whatever it is, like never stopping. But if you, after I've done it a few times, I've like the eating experience is HD, and
I'm
you're
sure.
filled with gratitude. You're filled with like, wait, I'm actually like giving my body energy to keep
Wow.
going. You feel like you're connecting to godliness, elokus, and but it's very hard. It's very hard because there's so much like pull on our time and
Sure.
demand. So, but we try to take moments, to go deeper.
For sure. I even think it's like that's like already mastery level. For me, like if I'm saying the bracha in the beginning when I'm eating with kavana, which I think is like what the rabbis intended, like the whole point of bracha is to have that intention, to have that mindfulness, like bori pri adama, like from the ground, like so like for me that's step one is being able to say that with kavana, not just holding it up and like put it in your mouth. But I completely hear that, and I think it's like a good action item to work on. One thing I'm curious your thoughts, Jake, is so I posted on LinkedIn yesterday about like my experiment. People like took a lot of interest. Post got a lot of impressions, a lot of comments, a lot of likes. So and like a lot of people are trying to actively work on their screen time. I'm putting you on the spot here because I know it was impressive last time. Two questions. Question one: what is your current screen time? And question two: assuming that it's impressive, which by impressive I mean anything under 2 hours. There we go, 57 minutes. That's very impressive.
And it's 2 p.m. or a little after 2
Nice,
p.m.
nice. So, and you go to sleep in like another hour, probably at 3 p.m. So it's that's a joke. If anyone heard, I think one of our previous episodes, Jake wakes up at 2:57 a.m. So he has an early bedtime. But my question for you is, with such an impressive screen time, what are maybe top three strategies you've implemented that you'd recommend for the average person watching this who might have a screen time anywhere, I don't know, 3 to 6 hours in order to limit that, be more mindful, be more present?
It's a great question. I'm not sure. I think if it was myself, like I used to have higher screen time for sure. What I would do is I'd click into the app and it'll actually show you where you're spending your most time. And it'll very clearly show you like I'm spending a lot of time on Twitter. And I've deleted I don't have any social media on my phone except for Reddit. And I feel like I should delete that too. I'm not on it so much.
Do you have WhatsApp on
But
your phone?
I do have WhatsApp on my phone.
And do you check WhatsApp? Do you have notifications on for WhatsApp?
Some stuff. So I archive most things. So like I don't get notified for groups usually unless
Uh-huh.
it's something that's like very dear to me. But yeah, I do get notifications, but also most of the day my phone is in do not disturb or it's on calls only. So,
Got it.
if someone is calling me, it's probably they need something right away or they just need to deliver a
Yeah.
package in Israel.
Yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, so I'm kind of blocking those things. I'm using archive actively. And also I just reflect on it. Like I've had some days, like if I look back in the past of where I was on it for 5 hours, 6 hours, maybe that was a fast day or something, one of
Yeah.
these minor fasts, and I just feel completely drained after. Like you don't feel good after. So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Did you have certain times a day where you check WhatsApp, or it's just like whenever, like you either get a notification or think like you're
Whenever.
waiting
I
on
could be
something?
better about it, I think.
Yeah, that's something that I think is challenging for me because now like I don't have the WhatsApp phone out when I'm out and about, but when I get home, my first instinct is to check it versus like having set times. I remember I texted someone one time and there was an automatic reply, and they're like, "Hey, sorry, I only check WhatsApp twice a day, 10 a.m. and 7 p.m."
Nice.
So like that he's like super intentional, and this is like a very high functioning busy person, so that makes sense. I'm curious to transition for a second here, and I'm curious like whether living in Israel, being in Israel, has like a different effect or impact, or there are different things to think about. One of the things for me, I could just say is I think that this two phone experiment would be a lot harder in America, and I think the reason why it's easier in Israel is because people call a lot more for everything, whether it's like for doctors or for packages versus texts. And like the one good thing about this is I have my Israeli SIM card in here. I'm getting phone calls, so to me that's a little bit easier. The difficult thing, which is the reason that I got this, is that everyone uses WhatsApp. So like I Dafka specifically don't have WhatsApp on here, so I could block out more time. But anything else that like comes to mind, or like have your tech habits switched over at all since you made Aliyah?
I've actually found it harder, like more screen time and stuff like that. When I was in the U.S., I remember turning off my phone in the middle of the day sometimes. If it was just even just like an hour and a half, like I gotta get something done. And I found that there was a difference when I had my phone off versus in do not disturb. Because do not
No,
disturb, you can still touch, you can pull up and see the notifications and stuff. And here it's really difficult. I feel like it would be hard to turn off my phone. So I'm actually finding it harder in Israel. But also, like sometimes if my wife has her phone and we're going somewhere with our family, I'll say, "Hey, you bring your phone, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna leave my phone at home." So taking those moments, to get away from it. But I found it harder actually now that I'm using WhatsApp for everything. Whereas in the
yeah,
U.S., it's a lot of emails. You're getting bills like your inbox, like it could live there. Most things can wait 2 hours,
for
is what I
sure.
found. So I'm finding it harder actually.
One of the things for me and why I find it a lot more difficult and challenging, and maybe it's because I work a lot of US hours, like I work for an American company, Beehive. So, when I wake up in the morning, or let's start from nighttime, when I go to sleep at night, almost everyone in my company is still working. I'm still getting emails, I'm still getting Slack messages. So I'm
Mm.
usually like offline by around 11 p.m., but like I'm still getting messages. They could be a little time sensitive. And then when I wake up in the morning, I have messages from like the previous night, especially like from like team, like part of my team in the West Coast. And so
Yeah.
like I'm like, it's kind of difficult. When I check initially at like 8 a.m., then I could very easily go from like 8 a.m. to, I don't know, like 2 p.m., just like without checking my phone, which is like, that's probably the time that like has shifted with this new phone being more productive. But it's sort of this idea of being like on the clock, like, or like around the clock. And I think that's one of the things about remote work as well, like working remotely from home. We're not like in an office setting. So I think there's a lot more reliance on technology as well.
Yeah, I think Slack does a pretty good job of like snoozing notifications and also the activity panel, whatever. Like it's gotten a lot better over the years. The tricky thing with Slack is because it's instant messages, it makes everything feel immediate. And I think for a lot of times, email is actually better for things that don't
Yeah.
need to be responded to immediately. Um, so I think a lot of people went all Slack, and now they're kind of going back and forth. They're trying to find their equilibrium. But I think that's an example of very good design where I believe by default Slack will snooze notifications at a certain time and then unsnooze them at a certain time, and then you
Yeah.
can control these things. But what I do in different when working with clients and stuff is I just set expectations.
Yeah.
If it's really not going to work, like it's not going to work. Whether it's like, and I'm fine with that because like I value my life and my thoughts and thinking, being my own self and making my own decisions more than being a cog in a wheel.
For
So
sure.
it's hard, but I found that most people are like, yeah, I also don't want to be bothered by you if I'm with my family. So
For sure.
just setting expectations is super key.
that
Um,
that's one of the things that inspired me to get this other new phone is I thought to myself within my personal life and within work, how many times when someone reaches out to me is there actually like a very urgent need for a response, right? Like besides my wife and maybe my immediate family, I can't really think of instances where there's like an immediate response that's needed. So the thing I like about this phone is, my most important contacts, my wife, my parents, my family have access and they can call me and text me. But like all those other friends that I have when I still care a lot about my friendships and work, like usually it's not like if I wait an hour or 2 hours, it's not going to be the end of the world. So that's sort of
totally.
what I'm doing with this. And I think it's definitely a worthwhile trade off.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually curious where you stand on the WhatsApp texting versus voice notes and how you manage that. Like for me, in the US really didn't use voice notes that much, but I've found it to be very helpful when staying in touch with friends
Yeah.
where it's hard for me to sometimes get on a call with people in the US, different hours, a lot of responsibilities. I try to do it as often as I can, but that might be every 3 months or something
Yeah.
like that. But I have found that a voice note feels like, hey, I'm gonna get to it when I get to it, even if it's a minute, because it's like a
Yeah.
minute of someone's time or 3 minutes or whatever. But it's a really nice way to give updates to people and ask questions, and they don't feel pressured because there's some like expectation of like if you sent me a 2 minute voice note, then I'm gonna send back at least a 2 minute voice note
Yeah.
because people like to reciprocate. But I also don't have any expectation of like you're gonna send me a 2 minute voice note right away. So sometimes I get 2 minute voice notes 2 weeks later whenever someone has the time to sit down and do it. And I kind of like that because I like hearing people's voices and you can just communicate a lot more. Whereas texting, I feel that it's very utilitarian. It's like just get something done. So where do you stand on that, and how do you use text versus voice notes versus calls?
For sure. I think anyone who's like listening to this and thinking about making Aliyah but might not be in Israel already, get ready for your life of texting to change and for you to send out voice notes like 24/7, receive voice notes all the time because in Israel it seems like the majority form of communication. I happen to like it a lot, especially now that like I'm not using my phone and like checking WhatsApp all the time. Like when I check WhatsApp, periodically throughout the day, I see like a 2 minute voice note. I have it in my mind. I can respond to it. A lot of times though, like I get that sort of voice note and then I make it in my head, okay, I'm going to respond with like a thoughtful voice note later and I forget about it. That's probably a me issue, but I think it's definitely a very effective form of communication. And I've actually taken it back to iMessage, and now like I'll iMessage a lot of my friends in the States and even on Slack for work, and I'll send voice messages. Recently,
Mm.
one of my coworkers, I sent him a voice message, and he responds to me. He's like, "Really? Like, you want me to listen to this?" And I'm like, "Dude, you could put it on 1.5 or 2x speed. Like, it's not that big of a deal." But we were laughing and joking about that. I think it's a cultural difference, but I'm a big fan now. Maybe if you asked me when I first made Aliyah, about a year and a half ago, my thoughts would be different. But I guess I've acclimated.
Yeah, and I could add something that I feel like is a really good tip for the Israeli tech scene. So if you talk to your American friends, if you open up your phone right now, you're probably not going to see any usage of emojis, right? Like you probably didn't send
Yeah,
them before going to Israel, maybe a little bit, but and then
yeah,
you don't get so many. Even if you look at your Slack with your U.S. coworkers, but I have found that in Israel, people use emojis a lot more,
uh,
and it's actually very helpful. Which I kind of look at my messages now, and I'm like, I hate that I'm using so many emojis, but it actually communicates a lot more information, especially if you're speaking with someone who English isn't their first language and they've learned
uh,
a lot of it from TV and stuff like that. Like they're good, like you can work with them in English, but the emojis really help communicate a lot. And so that could be a good tip too, to like use more emojis, especially because people are reading these texts so fast. You get so many texts, like you don't know what people's tone is. And I think we always assume that people are just like rushed or whatever, and they mean well. But sometimes, and talking about expectations and setting expectations, sometimes the other way of adding the emojis and adding the voice note or
uh.
whatever, and just over communicating sometimes can be good. When English isn't your first language.
It's interesting.
What's your emoji usage now, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think. Remind me how old you are again.
32.
32. Okay, so you're 32. I'm 26. A little bit of an age gap in between us. I think that age gap is the emoji usage is indicative more of the age gap because like for me like a lot of my friends like in the US use emojis all the time, and even like in Slack a lot of like my coworkers are using emojis a lot. Like I work at a pretty young company. I think a lot of the people I work with like are in their mid to late 20s, so I think it's more of an age thing than I think a cultural thing, but maybe people in their 30s in Israel are using emojis more than people in their 30s in America. But like I use plenty of emojis, both in Israel like and in America when speaking to people in the States. So like maybe that's it. But yeah, I don't know. We could do a survey. We could poll and see what our friends in America versus Israel and maybe even Europe think.
Yeah, putting you on the spot.
Put me in the spot.
What are some of your most used emojis?
I'll tell you right now. I like that question. I need to get my iPhone, which I usually
Oh, I'm
locked away.
sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to get his screen time up, guys.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll tell you for the sake of the segment. Okay, my most used emojis. Um, oh, okay, let me go into WhatsApp here. Um, okay, number one most used emoji is the red heart. Classic. Can't go wrong with the red heart. Now that I'm married,
Interesting.
it's
Okay.
important to use it a lot. I'll give you my top three. That's the first one. My second most used emoji is the bicep flexing, because got to stay flexing on the haters. And my third one is actually a GIF of that I took of my wife sleeping on a bus, which I think is super funny, and I sent it to her. So it's not really an emoji, but it's a GIF that I use. So that's my top three. How about you? What's your top three?
Yeah, good question. So for sure, the thumbs up. I'm sure that's the default Slack, whatever. I feel like I'm thumbs upping everything. Um, the pray, the hands praying,
Mm.
like this guy, because it's all actually high five,
I
but
thought of it.
also
I use this for thank you.
I use it for thank you, pray, high five. I find that one I use a lot
Very
because it could be
versatile. Very versatile emoji.
exactly. Um, and I for some reason like someone was using this one not too long ago as the melting face emoji.
Got it. Maybe it's hot in Israel, so.
And I kind of like it. It's this is yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, that's funny. Um,
But
cool.
that's it.
One of the things that sort of hit me hard, and I think it's like very, it makes a lot of sense that we're talking about this now before Pesach, is one of my rabbis that I'm very close to, Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen. Um, he basically he was in a shiur. He was telling over how, when he first became religious, he didn't grow up religious, but when he first became religious, all of his friends basically came to him and said, "Oh my gosh, like you used to be so free. Like you used to be free to eat whatever you want, you know, have like relationships with whoever you want, do whatever you want. Like now basically on Saturday, which is Shabbat, you can't drive, you can't eat whatever you want, you can't even turn on the lights in your house, you can't rip toilet paper. I mean, we can keep going. I don't know how how graphic we want to get for everyone here, but you get the point. And my rabbi always tells over, and I think this is the point here because the whole point of Egypt, right? It doesn't make sense. Like we were slaves to to Paro, like to Pharaoh and Mitzrayim, but then we became slaves to Hashem. Avadim to Hashem. And I think the point my rabbi was trying to make is everyone is a slave to something, right? Like every single person, even if they are the most atheist person in the world, they don't have any beliefs in God, in a higher power, you could find something that they're a slave to, whether it's alcohol, toxic relationships, technology, obviously is a big one.
Mm.
And I think the whole point of like religion and the whole point of the Passover experience is to show you that you're going to be a slave to something. You might as well be a slave to like the creator of the universe. I know it sounds like a little intense what I'm saying now, but basically, like the whole point of Shabbat is to take you out of that experience to connect with the most important things in your life, to connect with family, friends, good food without distraction, to pray. And like that's sort of the point of Passover. And I think for most people nowadays, and probably most of the audience that we're speaking to, they're not people that are likely addicted to things like, alcohol and drugs, but I think the biggest addiction right now is for sure technology. Like for sure, for sure, for sure. And people don't even realize or think that they're addicted. I remember when I first started keeping Shabbat, like I actually physically needed to hide my phone basically because like my whole life I was just surrounded by my phone, surrounded by notifications. I could not have it on. I couldn't have it in the same room. And I think like if people actually tried doing a tech detox, they would see how addicted they are.
How long did it take for you putting your phone down and observing Shabbat till that feeling wore off of like, yeah, my phone could be there? Like, how long did it actually take?
It's a good question. I still turn my phone off every week before Shabbat, even though I've been keeping Shabbat now for over 5 years. I think it was probably a couple of months, but a good test, and I still fail a lot at this test, is how quickly after Havdalah, which is the ceremony you do after Shabbat ends, do you go to turn on your phone and check your notifications? For me, still, like, there have been few Shabbats where I just like completely lost track of time, and it was like hours later where I turned my phone on. I'm still anxious to check my phone, and maybe that's because I can't work the full day on Friday and I have like work stuff potentially waiting for me. But like now to me that's the actual challenge. Saturday night checking my phone. And this week it'll be Sunday night, right? And for people in America, it'll be Monday night. Like people in America listening to this before Passover, that's going to be 3 days. 3 days of a holiday where there's going to be no technology. Like how many people right now in our day and age are taking 3 full days, two for the people in Israel, like 48 hours, 72 hours away from technology. Like it's actually unbelievable.
It's crazy, actually. It's probably like more than 1 million people,
Yeah,
right? Or
same.
maybe I don't know if I'm overestimating, but at least hundreds of thousands of people are
Yeah.
doing a 3-day tech detox. And you know what? Even 3 days might not be enough. Like you still feel drawn to the phone after. But it's kind of like you talked about the flexing emoji and going to the gym. It's like over time, just continuing with it every Shabbat, the results build and build. So it gets a little bit easier over time. But yeah, I mean, I'm also after Shabbat ends, I'm interested in like what happened with the world. Usually, nothing really happens because
Yeah.
it's Saturday anyway. But I know we're always interested in what's going on around Israel. It's still a war.
Yeah.
We have family back home and in the U.S. So,
Stock market's
uh,
crashing, so
oh, right, right, right. I honestly, I didn't even like register it on Friday. And then on Sunday, I was starting, like, I guess the futures were opening or whatever, and people
yeah.
were talking about it. But um, yeah, good luck to everyone's 401ks
Yeah,
and stuff.
seriously, seriously. But I think it's the way I think about this whole thing with technology is I'm really and everything in life. I think it connects to also like the stock market, right? Like I want to play a macro game with life. Like I'm not interested in like a micro game. Like a micro game is looking at stocks right now and saying, "Uh-oh, like things are bad. It's going to be like this forever." But anyone who's tracked the S&P 500 for, the past 100 years know that if you zoom out, like this isn't financial advice, but there's almost a guarantee that, in 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 years from now, those numbers will be way higher and we won't even be thinking about that. I think the same is true with technology. Like every little step that we take and like every day, I'm like focused on the macro. I'm like, okay, if I'm not, I might not need to be checking my WhatsApp now 24/7, but what are the habits that I'm building right now, in 2025 that in 2030, when technology is even more powerful and more invasive, what are those skills and habits I'm going to be able to use to be a more present husband, a more present father, a more present worker and coworker? And I think in a lot of these jobs also, like people think they have a responsibility to be online because of their boss. Like I don't think any CEO wants their employees checking Slack all day or like checking email all day. Right? Like the real way we're able to add value is through deep focused work, right? And there's actually a study from University of Pennsylvania that shows even if your phone is off, but it's in eyesight, it's on your desk or even in your bag, your level of creative thinking and productivity drops, which to me like that is scary. And there are a lot of studies that we have not yet run which probably shows the impact of even having your phone present. So like now when I do my deep work and I only have access to WhatsApp on my phone, I put it like away out of sight, close it like chametz. Like I'm not selling it, but I'm putting it somewhere where I can't see it.
No, it's really good to develop these habits, and it's a good reminder for me as well. Um, yeah, I try to just put it aside as much as possible because it turns your head into chametz, right? That's the whole
Exactly.
idea of like you're letting if the bread rises for more than 18 minutes, it becomes chametz. There's like kabbalistically, it's all very connected because the Eitz Hadat, Tov Ra, one of the main commentaries was that it was wheat,
Uh huh.
right? Like a lot of people think it's the apple, but it was one of the main opinions is that it was wheat. And so wheat turning into chametz is with that time. So, and you can even see this. Like if I'm on my phone scrolling on LinkedIn or whatever, Twitter, like eventually your mind becomes chametz. You feel it. You feel like your energy is being sucked versus like you contributing to something. And one of the things that has helped me is some visualization techniques. So, for example, I could visualize myself scrolling like in third person, And that seems so weird, right? But
Yeah.
if you visualize yourself like from a different perspective of like you're hanging out with your kids or your wife or whatever, almost like this third person perspective, then it can kind of like for me, it's helped me develop that inner voice of actually narrating what's going on. Because I feel like usually there's the urge and then the action happens right away. I'm hungry, okay, eat. Okay, I'm gotta see a notification, okay, look at it.
Yeah.
But building up that mindfulness in the middle and also building the awareness and the mindfulness to actually narrate what's going on. And it took a lot of practice, but over time, it's like actually plays in my head like, oh, you're looking at your phone now, which like you don't really think about
Yeah.
that. Why would you just do things, right? But in doing these visualization techniques and it's almost developed like another part of my inner monologue that
Yeah.
helps me catch when I'm doing these things. So I'm still
Wow.
working on this, but I'm really trying to just be extremely present. And it's more moments of the day where it's more presence and less presence. It's kind of a wave sign, but yeah. I have you do you like what's your inner monologue like when you're looking at these? Do you have it or is it just like
The
automatic?
interesting for me, it's not like an inner monologue when I'm looking at it, but now that like I have this little flip phone, it's not a flip phone. Now that I have this phone, which isn't an iPhone, and like I'm more present when I'm outside, I don't want to say that I'm judging people, but I realize like we are living in a Black Mirror episode, or like I forget that other show, like the dystopian show. Like you go into an elevator with 10 other people, you go on a train, you go on a plane, you walk down the street, you see everyone is just completely immersed in their phones. Like it feels like we're living in some dystopian reality. Like go onto a train, next time if you're listening to this in New York City, go onto a subway. Like count how many people are not using their phones on a subway car. The number is probably like less I'd almost guarantee less than 10%. Do the same thing for an elevator. Like, how fast when you walk into an elevator do you pull your phone out? I would guess it's probably within 2 to 3 seconds. So, like, what I'm sort of realizing, and this is not saying, oh, look at me, I'm so much better than all these people. I mean, I just got this. I'm still experimenting with it. I'm still very much addicted to technology. But you realize, like, this isn't the way things are supposed to be. Um, and I don't really have, like, an inner dialogue. I think that's the problem. Like, the problem is we don't actually think about when we're using this technology. And the other problem, which is even bigger, is we're not supposed to. Like, the way all of these apps are actually engineered. I mean, they've literally interviewed like the founders and like top engineers of these things who've spoken out. Everything from like the slot machine with like the likes and the colors and the endless scroll, like it's trillions of dollars pitted up against our psychology. And like those trillions of dollars are going to win 9 times out of 10. So like you should stop feeling bad for yourself. Like I'm not feeling bad for myself that I can't keep up with the iPhone. I realize it's a losing battle, so instead of playing a losing game, I'm just gonna leave it at home. And like this phone is a lot easier. I'm holding up my little like Chinese phone. It's a lot easier to win the battles there because I don't have the apps installed, and it's like a really horrific user experience. So that's sort of my inner monologue.
Yeah, man, I think what shattered it for a lot of people was that documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, where they were
Yeah,
actually
I
doing
saw a
those
few
interviews, and it
episodes of
was,
that. It's
you saw
crazy.
that? Yeah, it was, I think it was Social Dilemma. I thought it was a documentary, but maybe they did like a different one. But same idea, how like they're investing all this money into socially engineering everyone, basically, and getting them addicted to these things. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about the incentives, because the incentive is to keep you in these apps as long as possible, to harvest as much of your data as possible so they can sell you ads, and that is their business model. So you are the business model essentially.
100%.
And
100%.
it's hard, but as long as we realize it, then we can take action, like getting your very good-looking Chinese phone. I like how you added the little flip thing too. That's pretty cool.
Oh, the flip thing, basically with this whole experiment, my number one goal was to make it as functional as possible. And a big thing, I don't know where my iPhone is now, but I have a thing, like I never carry my wallet anymore. Like I almost always use a credit card to pay for things. Like very rarely I use cash. So I have like one of those cases in the back of my iPhone where I put my cards in. And I realized like, uh-oh, I'm gonna need to carry my iPhone around with me to pay. But instead, for like 40 shekels today. I just bought one of these things where I put my cards in. I think with these, like having a second phone, if someone's interested in it, like try to make it as practical for you as possible. Like all of the good things you like about your iPhone or smartphone, try to have that on here so it's an easy transition. Like that's my biggest goal. My biggest goal with this is I could see one day potentially getting rid of the iPhone entirely and just using this and like using WhatsApp here, using Slack here, and like I think I would be a lot less addicted because it's a bad user experience. But I'm taking baby steps. I think that's what it's about. It's about taking baby steps. You know, like the whole thing. There's a seder, like there's an order of things. There's a process that we need to go by to achieve halal and nirtza, to achieve the end of the seder, where l'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. So, trying to stick to the seder here. I'm curious. What one thing before we end up here? One thing that I said before, and this is putting you on the spot again, but I think the show is fun when we put each other on the spot. What are you a slave to, and what is, and like how do you want to work on that this year in Pesach, right? Like this holiday is all about going from slavery to freedom. I think we still have a lot of we're still slaves to a lot of different things around us. For me, I think the thing that I picked is a technology. I'm taking actionable steps to try to break through of that. What are you a slave to, and how do you want to try to break past that this year?
Such a good question. A lot of things. Rabbi Nachman says that a person should work on one character trait at a time, even if that takes months or years. And I've done a lot of work on different things. The hardest thing for me right now is, it actually connects with something we talked about before, which was eating intentionally. I still, now that I've developed more of this inner monologue, I'm questioning, like, when I'm eating, is it related to my body actually needing it, or is it, oh, it's 9 a.m. now, it's time for breakfast, oh, it's 1 p.m. now, it's time for lunch? Like, I'm trying to separate out what is an urge of like, hey, it's just like we're used to this schedule versus like my body actually needs this fuel. So part of it is like eating with mindfulness and the brachot and all that stuff. But then it's, I have other things that I'm trying to take baby steps in, whether it's more of the intermittent fasting or other strategies to be more mindful. But yeah, that is the thing that I wouldn't say I'm a slave to, but kind of something I'm definitely working on, and would love to kind of take it to the next level. So we never really finish our work in any one of these areas.
Yeah.
You kind of bring it to the next level, and then you probably plateau a little bit, and there's probably something else that pops up, like, oh, it's money now, or
Yeah.
honor or whatever that I'm running after, and I have to. But a lot of people think that they're actually falling behind with the challenges of, hey, didn't I overcome this before? But it's actually the exact opposite. It means they're ready to get to the next level. So that's where I feel like I'm trying to take to the next level now, is in eating.
I love that, and I definitely think in future episodes I want to dive deeper on things like health and wellness, eating, workout, all of that, because I think it's fascinating, and we could talk from Torah perspectives, from Israel perspectives. There's so much there to uncover, and that's like one of my big goals also this year has been like very much, health and fitness, and like even a few months in now, like my mental clarity and like physical clarity, like physical fitness, feel like I'm at like an all-time high, which is amazing. So definitely have a lot of thoughts and strategies to share there as well. But I don't know, to me that seems like a wrap. Seems like we covered a lot. I shouldn't say wrap, but kosher for Pesach wrap.
Breaking matzahs, yep.
Breaking Matzahs, exactly. This is the first edition of Breaking Matzahs.
Amazing. I will give a plug to the community. I met a lot of nice people through it so far. So I'll give some shout outs to people that I spoke with: Elon, Ahava, Alone, Alex. Thank you for joining the community. Thank you for giving me feedback on the episode. I'm sure other people reached out to Alec too, and he had
Yeah,
conversations, but just keep sending us your feedback. Here to help with resume stuff or intros or whatever. And just thanks for being part of this journey so far.
100%. Thank you guys. And yeah, we're looking forward to more. And any feedback is good feedback. Any constructive feedback is especially helpful. So, wishing everyone a Chag Kasher v'Sameach, an amazing holiday. May we all break through all of our slaveries and reach the ultimate freedom. Anything to add on your side, Jake?
No, you said it the best. Chag Kasher v'Sameach, everyone. And we'll talk to you soon.
Amazing. Lashana Babi Yerushalayim. Bye, everyone.
Amen.